Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show, the number one place where coaches, consultants, leaders, and change makers come to get insights that they need to create a happier, healthier, and more productive existence. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today I'm really excited to bring in our guest, Ania Koziarska Bergink. I hope I got that right.
Prosper, you are getting now a medal for pronouncing my name so well. Good job.
Thank you so much, Ania. And I'm really excited for what we're about to uncover on the call today. And for those that are watching right now, if you've ever felt maybe stuck, overwhelmed, or like you're wearing shoes that simply don't fit anymore, today's episode is definitely for you, because as I've already introduced Ania to you, she is a soft skills and mindfulness trainer, a well-being consultant, and she is at the heart of AnnPower, which is a company that empowers organizations to build positive, resilient, people-first cultures. Okay, and I know this is going to be a conversation that you will not only feel you need to be there and present in order to be a part of what we are going to be going through, because Ania is somebody who's lived across 4 countries, has worked across diverse organizations, and somehow still manages to bring that wisdom of a sage, and that coupled with the curiosity of a child. We were having conversations behind the scenes, and you should just see her light up with specific things I was asking her, because I just wanted to see the person that we're going to be talking to. And from what I've also heard, she loves trying new things and turning challenges into opportunities. And I can't wait to see how she is going to go with this. So if you're watching this right now, grab your tea, a notebook, or whatever keeps you grounded. And because I know you are about to hear a story filled with resilience, reinvention, and real human connection. Now, Ania, I could go on and talk about things that, I'm not even qualified to talk about. You've had a career that spans 4 countries, and you've done quite a lot of work, but you've described your career like wearing a pair of shoes that no longer fit. Could you maybe start us off with that so that we get an understanding of who you are?
Who I am. I think, Prosper, you gave such a great, I was listening to you and I was like, what a great introduction. What can I add to it? Maybe apart from it, just also from the private point of view. I live in Netherlands. I go by she, her. As people are saying, happy life, happy wife. So I'm happily married to a Dutch person. And originally I'm from Poland. So I'm located in Europe. But my life landed in this great tiny country, Netherlands. And I think it's also important to mention, because in the place where we live, that also dictates like how we work, the way we communicate, and actually even the business, how we can run the business. And that's really important aspect in terms of having own business. And I think you invited me also to share a bit of my background and story. Apart from it, that indeed I work with diverse organizations, from big ones to small ones to local communities. And indeed, I worked with organization, I think, in 4 or 5 continents. So that taught me a lot, how people are, how organizations are, what challenges do they meet. And I hope by the end of our conversation, I will say actually what connects everyone, despite being in different time zones on different continents, and also what maybe differentiate those organizations. And coming back to your question about the metaphor that indeed I use, that it came a moment in my life that I felt that I'm wearing the pair of shoes that don't belong to me anymore. and I start to feel this, the feeling like when you try maybe too small or too big shoes, and you want to have the shoes that actually fit your feet and your needs career-wise. So I experienced that some years ago, and this discomfort brought me to the motivation or motion to tell me like, now it's time to make a change career-wise and start to do my own business. But the truth is, many people have different stories. And for me, my story is it didn't happen from day to day. It took some time. It's a process to be mature enough and to say, okay, what I want to do now in my life. But that happened because I gained, work experience, personal experience, and being more mature, meaning like being more aware who I am, what I did in my life, what I like to do in my life, what is important, what is actually my purpose, and what is aligned with my values and my strengths. So that was the whole combination to understand like, okay, this is what I want to now do, but also what can give me finances. Because I think when we talk about business, it's great to talk about the purpose, the values, the why, the strengths, but also it's very relevant to know that from this, I can also do well financially. And I think that's also need to be addressed when anyone will think ever, maybe I would like to start my own business. So for sure, being also open for experimentation and throwing yourself to the very, very not easy thing that is called unknown, because you don't know what's going to happen, frankly speaking. So in the end, my past was that I worked in different industries. I also worked in industry where I was also a business consultant and a business coach for other entrepreneurs. So I saw how to run the business. What are the ups and downs? What are the characters of the entrepreneurs are, so to say, that have successes or they actually will fail. So it was a great school for me to observe those people who are running the businesses. And then, as you mentioned, I lived and worked in 4 different countries. So also I could watch how the businesses are run in different countries, how the way of working is. And in the end now, because I live in Netherlands, and I think it's a great country to start your own business because of the conditions, tax-wise, also openness. And as you mentioned, my domain area of work is to work on topics as resilience, mindfulness, communication with respect. And definitely in the country where I'm living now, it's a great country to plant the seeds for those topics and develop. I think it's in everywhere, but in certain cultures, you have more ease for certain topics.
Absolutely.
So I think like in the Benelux countries, there is openness for that. So I think being in the right moment, in the right place, with the right mindset, and right support. And I think that's came the moment to me that I said to myself, I want to have more freedom, more creativity. I want to bring more impact through my knowledge, my experience and skills. And because of the huge discomfort or in being in not the shoes that anymore fit me, I decided to take off those shoes and put the new one and take metaphorically speaking, the new sprint or sometimes marathon. It's actually marathon. So a long story, really a lot to experience to take this step. Especially that I was this type of person that was in they call it 9-5 job, but frankly speaking, it's also not 9-5 job. You all can also work after hours or even during the weekends. But of course, there is a lot of structure, security, So then you need to know that you are going for something that it's not going to be at all the same as it was. Yeah.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for taking us through all of that. Now, with the 4 countries, what are those countries that you lived in?
So I'm originally Poland, Germany, Belgium, and now Netherlands.
Absolutely. Great stuff. So, I mean, obviously, we could maybe get a bit of a glimpse of, Poland was, as you said, was a country of birth. So the metaphorical shoes that did not fit started a long time ago, when obviously the country of birth no longer fit where you wanted to be or who you wanted to become. Maybe you can let us know, what caused you to start your journey.
It's a good question. I think that's actually started back then, still in Poland.
Yeah.
I worked it is called franchise. So franchise, it means it's a bit like Burger King, McDonald's, but that was not my topic. My topic was actually health and sport and lifestyle, which, as you can see, I'm now also sharing that type of knowledge, the resilience, the positivity. So basically what I did so many years ago, I'm continuing the journey, but in a different format. So I would say I didn't go through the extremely change that I'm doing something different, like I would be a vet and now I'm actually the IT person. No, that was not my story. My story is that actually what I have learned, I just changed the format. Also, my background is in psychology, positive psychology. So it means that I was carrying something from even my educational times, that finally I can, switch it more to the professional part and not only the educational one. And back then in Poland, as I said, in the franchise company, I could really work with people that they run their own businesses. And I think that was the moment that inspired me a lot to see what type of impact you can make. Definitely the freedom, the creativity. And that is always true. Work hard, have a focus, also work with the right people, being in the right moment, in the right time. Then you can really flourish in what you do. And that was a huge inspiration for me to see the entrepreneurs that were doing that. But also I saw entrepreneurs that should not be entrepreneurs. So it was a good learning to understand what works when you have your own business and what doesn't work. So that was the great time and lesson and learning, because, I could be the advisor and the business coach and the business consultant. So I could be more from the observer point of view.
What was your experience in Germany? Because everybody there is very sort of engineering, precision. You get late in Germany, everybody's huffing and puffing about all of that. What was your experience of Germany?
I brought definitely my Polish culture. So probably you can compare it a bit to Italian and the Spanish one. So indeed, the German approach, way of working is very precise, very strict, which, to be honest, when you do your business, is very helpful because you need to have that clarity. You need to know your goal. You need to know your why. So I think in terms combining them with running the business, that gives a lot of structure. And of course, like in any country, with whoever you will work, whatever cultures, you need to understand what you have in common, what are the differences in that sense. And indeed, because I was representing the Polish market, then also you cannot bring on one, you cannot copy the things. You need to adapt them to the culture context and also the economic context. Because in every country, the economic wise, runs differently. The prices, the mindset, the behaviors of consumers, clients. So that also need to be adjusted. So I think that is important to say when you work with different cultures, countries. But it depends if I don't know, the business that you do had the experience in other countries, different countries than the own one, because like you have, I mentioned, I lived in Belgium, in the Netherlands. These cultures are more similar to each other than, for instance, I don't know, the Chinese or Japanese culture. So that's also you need to take into account that, for instance, when Australia, I don't know, collaborate with New Zealand, it's going to be different when you're going to collaborate with South Africa or Kenya.
Absolutely. And obviously, with all these different influences, you now have created, a unique tapestry of, the offering that you have, because, you now have had these exposures. Now, how did these cultural shifts maybe shape the work that you now do today, especially around maybe connection and communication?
It's a really good question. I like it a lot because indeed, even this year, I had a great, impactful training program with an organization that is located in countries in South Asia and Africa. But I also do those programs with the countries in Europe, for instance. And culture-wise, I think it's important to understand the needs of the organization, of people, what challenges do they have. And in the end, what I was saying some months ago, even to my colleague, I was saying from my network environment that people everywhere are the same. Doesn't matter where you live. We all have hearts. We all have needs. We all have thoughts. We all have dreams. So in terms of even communication, those all things are similar. Even the way how, even when we have conflicts, even how we need to give feedback. And I know that culture will give the certain context, right? Is it more democratic? Is it more hierarchy way? Gender thing? Is it more male dominated, or there is actually more balance between men and women? So those contexts, then I, of course, take into the account, right? So the layers is like an ecosystem. And then it will make my job, in that sense, more diverse, because I need to know that and adjust that. So, of course, it doesn't work that working with people in terms of resilience or communication or mindfulness everywhere is the same. No, I need to understand that. And because I worked with so many cultures in different countries, that gave me this insights and knowing like, okay, this is the way I will communicate. This is the way how I can listen. So that is important. But in the end, all people on this globe are very similar to each other. And I think that is important to know, to take those labels, well, or at least put them aside, if that's possible, for some time, and look at the people as people and not only through the lenses of labels.
Absolutely. I absolutely believe in life. We're here to live, to learn, and to contribute. And each and every one of us, in order for us to live a happy life, you need to learn how to do that. And once you learn, you need to contribute to others so that they too, can experience, things the way that you'd have experienced. But when you were making that transition, you did mention that you were stepping into the unknown, because you're coming in from, you did mention a 9 to 5, which basically looked after your income, looked after where you're supposed to be at any particular moment. But when you're going into business, everything lies on you. And I think you did mention that that was one of your biggest challenges. So what did that sort of tunnel of uncertainty look like from the inside? And how did you keep moving forward up until now you've got a flourishing business?
Yeah, I like to call it the unknown tunnel of unknown. Indeed, it's a very unique and different experience in that sense, because as an adult, as a grown-up, you already built a lot, you already know a lot, and stepping something into unknown, it gives you a lot of discomfort. in that sense that, but again, what I mentioned, this freedom, creativity. So I would say that despite being in unknown and the feeling that is there is the fear, anxiety, which is normal. It's also good to acknowledge that that's part of the journey. It's to look at the things that, give us excitement, experimentation. It's like landing on no man's land and say, okay, now I can shape it, be architecture of the snowman land and see how I can construct it. So it's a bit like being playful, I think, like a child when they get Lego blocks and you have the many, 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 and then okay, let me start to build something and see what comes out of it. And I think what I was learning, and I'm still learning, very wise people was telling me a few things. First of all, trust the process. So you need to learn to trust your gut feelings and intuition. Even though there are going to be obstacles, there are going to be doubts. That's part of the process. Also, what is important, well, some people are working more in the freestyle way, like whatever comes that comes. I'm not that person. I'm the person that needs a structure. So I build that structure. I put clear goals, what I want to achieve, what is important to me, what is realistic. I think it's also really important to say, because what I observe with entrepreneurs, that you can put really unrealistic goals. And I think that that's going to lead you to even bigger frustrations and disappointments. So you need to look in your pot, what sources you have. By your person, but also external one. What is your network? Who is in your network? It is also can be called strategic network, where you should be. In what do you want to invest? Marketing or people that you know that can help you. So you need to really think about it. It's your strategic planning. And of course, the budget part. Let's not forget about it when you decide, because I have a business that I didn't have to open, I don't know, a store, restaurant, or something very physical. That would be different type of investment. So when whatever the business you decide to do, then think about the budget. How much do you want to invest? What are your capabilities and capacity? How much you have in your pot, in other words. And the truth is that it takes some time. It can take even years. I'm not saying 10 years, but at least 3-4 years that people will know you, your visibility. And also something that it is spoken out loud, at least between the entrepreneurs, that the first few years, they're not going to be lucrative and amazing because it's an investment. So I think to be also very realistic to say, okay, financially, how I'm going to manage it, from where, or what will be my incomes. So I think it is a very important part when you talk about business, because of course there's a purpose, there's energy, but in the end of everyone's life, you need to know for how you're going to pay your bills. So the finance part is very, very crucial, apart from the purpose, sources, energy that we have. Yeah.
Absolutely. Would there be, and thank you so much for taking us through that, because with all the things that you're talking about, you're right. I mean, if you're going to be starting an online type business, you don't have all the overheads that somebody who's opening a brick and mortar has to start off with, and the emotional baggage of people not showing up in your particular shop. You will physically notice if nobody has opened that door, whereas with a website, you're not going to know whether people walked in or they walked out, and it doesn't give you that sort of anxiety. But is there a difference between a woman doing this or a man doing this in your own sort of view?
Well, that's a very good question. That can be a huge. I think there are few factors that we need to take into the account. That because before we go to the gender, is if the person that you decided to go for your own business had someone already, for instance, in the family that did this type of ownership while having business. Because if you lived in the environment that everything that you were working for someone, then probably that is even more challenging. If you have seen around your family how it is to run the business and there were successes, then also you know how it works. So before stepping into the gender part, that's really important. Thing is like, did I have this example? Or even among my friends, did I have those examples to see how people were running the business and if they worked well? And I think when we talk about gender part, then again, I think it's good to look at in which part of continent we are thinking of, because there are certain type of countries that are creating, how to say, the conditions that women are more encouraged to do their own businesses, and there are certain type of continents and countries where sometimes it's not even possible. So I think that's also will dictate about the possibilities. I think it's also changes with the generations. I'm in the millennials generation, so that also has changed. But when I look at the younger now generations, they call it Z generations or any other, I think there is even more encouragement and freedom to experiment. So if I would look, there were boomers and others, if we would look that way, everyone were brought in a different conditions, and also what was happening in the history and economic wise. So I think now it's really, in certain part of the countries, a lot of possibility for women to take ownership and to try to do their own businesses. Especially that in certain cultures, there is, thinking that the man should only bring money. And in the end, it's great when both parties can make those financial decisions, bring incomes, show to the children that it's possible that the both parties can work also independently. You don't always have to be hired by the organization. But looking at the example of the part of the Europe where I'm located, I see how many women are taking this step and doing their own businesses. So I would say that my experience is, but I also live now in Netherlands, and this country is actually encouraging everyone, not only women, also men, that you can do your own business. But I think what might be sometimes impacting the mindset is, am I good enough? Am I having enough of good skills? The confidence level. So I think that can be sometimes the thing to work on, to say that, yeah, I'm good enough. I have this talent. I have those skills. And of course, I will come back to the part that is part of the business. Yes, I have enough of finances to do and run my business and earn on it. So it might be in some cases that for some men, they are just, okay, I'm just going. I'm just doing this. And for women, it might be, I need to think more. Also, it depends what stage, because when you have someone in their 20s, then you have even much more freedom. You just go freestyle. But for instance, if you have the stage of life where you have small children and more obligations, that can be more difficult. Because indeed, you need to have a space for taking a risk. It's taking a risk. Perhaps also when you are in your 50s and 60s, then the risk is different, right? Because children are bigger. So I think it's not only to think about the gender part, but also in what stage of your life you are now.
I think that's a very valid point, because you can't compare somebody's first year to your, or somebody's 20th year to your first year, and you don't know what point of reference they have. Like you said, they might have somebody in their family who might be able to have given them direction, or that reference that you're talking about, that if somebody in your family has managed to successfully run a business, then at least you can compare yourself from that part. But you seemingly didn't have any of that. You only had your husband and sister and friends that would have been there to support you. How did that pan out for you?
I will talk about support soon. I just wanted to say, yeah, in my family, my closest family, and it was actually my grandma who started to run her own business. So there was example. There was example, but of course, as a kid, you don't see those things yet, unless later they will impact you. No, I had in my closest family the examples of running your own business with the all ups and downs. So that probably also shaped me and impact my decisions, why I took this later, not earlier, that part. But also you mentioned, I think, Prosper, you mentioned very important part in the journey of having own business. Not only, well, network-wise, who is in your network, but actually who is your peer or group support.
Support, yeah.
I think what sometimes can happen to people starting or running their own businesses is like because indeed everything is on your shoulders. There's the all responsibility, and then you need to make decisions. One thought that I wanted to mention also, is good to learn how I want to delegate the things. So it doesn't mean that everything I need to hold just with me. I think the good business owner, or that's also the leadership part, that you also know how to delegate to whom. You don't have to do everything by yourself. Of course, delegation means is related with investment, because if I want to delegate certain type of things, it can be marketing, it can be sales, or maybe finding a team, I can delegate this. Then I need to invest. And the peer group support, definitely, I think it's the foundation, that you are not there by yourself. Indeed, I'm in this great situation that, my husband, but also family members, but also friends, I have a good support. Also, I found support in the network. So, for instance, in Netherlands, there are many associations also dedicated for women, where you can get the support by other females that are running their own businesses. It's a great chain of support. So you learn there that actually how to run the business, how to do the marketing, how to do the sales, but just to talk to people about the ups and downs. And I think this is what I did. I really did the research. Where are those organizations and associations? So basically, it's like your team. Apart from it, I also have mentor. So it's also good to, some people have business coaches. I have a mentor. So it's always good to talk with someone, to have a reference. So you can talk with someone, which way, why this way, why I took these decisions. Also to celebrate your successes with someone, that's important. So I think to build that, it's important. It's like when you work at the organization, you also have your group support, peer support. That works exactly the same when you run your own business.
Now, obviously, with what you're talking about, if you're not delegating, then you are always going to be caught up in doing a lot of the work. And I viscerally believe you can't climb the ladder of success with your hands full. But in order for you to be able to delegate, you need to be very proficient in soft skills, and you have to be mindful that the person that you're passing on that work also, has to have the know-how and the knowledge of actually executing on that particular work. So the work that you do is helping organizations invest in mindfulness and soft skills training. Why is that relevant for any organization? And are people actually paying for things like that, especially when budgets are tight right now and stress is high?
Oh, I love this question. No, definitely. Exactly a week ago, I gave the workshop on mindful working at the bank here in The Hague, the Netherlands. And I think maturity of the organizations, because with the organization that I work, there is awareness, and they know what the gaps are, what the needs are. That will help in terms of developing soft skills, because that will impact the way the people work, the communication. It will impact the performance. It will impact the economy, the way the countries are working with each other, the way the people are working with each other. So it's I think you really touch upon a very relevant question, because the thing that I'm bringing, they are impacting the whole ecosystem, but sometimes it's not visible immediately, or the impact can happen even 6 months later. Because it's like with the things that you are learning, like learning the mindfulness, or the things like resilience, stress, communication, feedback, inclusivity, you don't learn that in one day. It takes you years, or sometimes whole life. And because we are humans, that's an ongoing process. Because now with the situation that is happening now in the world, great that the technology is developing, is needed, but it also has downsizes, as we can see. That's why people are getting also burnouts. Yeah. That's why also there is increasing level of depressions or conflicts, as we can see what is happening in the world. So more than now, we need those soft skills, and to know how to communicate with each other and how to take care of our own well-being. So because on what has happened now for the all centuries, that's why I'm teaching this. That's why I'm sharing this knowledge. But also my purpose is that people can be healthier, mentally wise, physically wise, but also in the communication wise. Yeah.
Absolutely, because I think it improves the quality of their life if they can actually enjoy the people they're around and be able to, like you say, delegate and pass on, work to those people. So you did mention you're working with the bank, and obviously this is like a legacy type business. Now, I would think that people assume mindfulness means maybe sitting cross-legged, humming or singing Kumbaya and drinking kombucha. What's one of the biggest misconceptions that people see about mindfulness or well-being in the workplace? And you obviously know it's false, and you hope people would actually know that it's not like that.
I also run now lately the session about being addicted from the screens and scrolling. And I was sharing this, how mindfulness is perceived by the societies, and actually what is not and what it is. So mindfulness, it means, for instance, if you experience, I don't know, at your work, a conflict, or even at your home, you had some problems. Mindfulness means that just stay with that, observe that, be with that. Whatever is now difficult for you, being mindful of it. So as example, if you had maybe huge conflict or discomfort, maybe with your wife, maybe with your children, work-wise with your colleagues. So usually people are escaping from it because that's uncomfortable to stay with this, what gives you discomfort. And mindfulness helps you to be with that and understand what was the cause and what is happening with you. That's also mindfulness is teaching you, just stay with the discomfort, see what is happening, and let it be. Mindfulness can also mean that now when you are having this podcast with me, that you're actually listening to me mindfully, that you are not checking now your emails, phone, thinking what I need to prepare for a dinner for my children, but you are just listening to me. This is mindfulness as well. Of course, it is related with meditation and breathing, because being mindful of the fact that you can breathe now, it is rooting you so you can run your podcasts. And mindfulness can help you also connect to your purpose, why I'm doing AnnPower, why you are doing the podcast.
Wow. Now you
That's
see,
also mindfulness.
the world we live in today, it's endless loops of scrolling. You see some people fighting, and then you see a baby crying, and then in 5 seconds you see somebody speeding on the road, and then in 6 seconds you see a mom yelling at a kid, and all these open loops are happening in people's brains. And I don't know if the world we live in right now can literally sit down and stand still enough to sip a cup of coffee.
Yeah, precisely. So that's not mindfulness. This is not being mindful, but basically, so mindfulness can go very different direction. And of course, in a work context, it can help you, for instance, when there is restriction, reorganization, or layoffs, or simply when you have a lot of to-do things at work, how to go about it in a mindful way. But also it helps you to observe what is unhealthy to you through the way you behave, through the way you communicate. So it can go different directions, but even how to be a mindful leader.
Do you have any practices that you can give to somebody? Because I don't think everyone's attention can really stick around long enough these days, just to, like I said, finish a sentence.
And what would be your question?
What sort of tricks or tips do you have for somebody to at least start their journey of being mindful?
I think there are no tricks. The tip is it's just to observe what is happening. It's really just to start to observing and observing, for instance, what is happening in your head, because probably I also have it, that the many thoughts are floating now. It's good to observe those type of thoughts. So for instance, work-wise, like for instance, I don't know, why I took this decision, why I said that, why I got maybe angry, why I said to invest in that. So just to start to observe those things, because sometimes people are getting caught in this autopilot that you are just running. And I think to practice, being more mindful is just to, start to observe. Just observe. And I think that this is actually the first step towards being mindful, to observe and to breathe more consciously, because it will help you to start to see the things inside you and outside, external, so internally and externally. So it's really just to observe and breathe. And I think that's really the first two small steps that I could say right now, which seems quite easy, but they are very difficult. So observing, like with your podcast, so what's going to be my next podcast about? Why this type of podcast? What I want to bring into the world by those podcasts? Instead of I need to find next person. Absolutely. So I think that's taking your example, because talking without the specific context is I would have to know a bit more to apply it.
Absolutely. Now, you also help people build resilience, but I feel like resilience is something that is usually born out of a personal struggle. It's not something that can be taught in a workshop. How do you go about, telling somebody, hey, you be resilient? Because if I knew how to do that, then I can be able to teach my little girls resilience. Every time I try to talk to them about, hey, eat your food or finish up your food, there's hungry kids from Africa. Yeah. They just look at me and then they say, you're not hungry. So, and automatically there's no way that can be built up from that. So how do you conduct your workshops on resilience?
Well, again, I have a lot of context because I know what the challenges are when people are coming. So first of all, what I do By the way, it's also different to work with children. And children are great to work with because their imagination and creativity goes beyond. They don't have those limitations when you are a grown-up because you learned a lot. So then you have those a lot of limitations. But when we talk about grown-ups and organizations, well, I have actually a lot of insights. I know what the challenges are. So when I know what the needs and challenges are, then I can address it. But usually, how I apply it and work, it's because people are overloaded with work. Back to back meetings, one-on-one, hundreds, thousands of emails. So what I said, the technology. So they are in this autopilot mode. It's just more and more, and then there's more stress. So what I do, I'm bringing to organization is, first of all, I'm taking them out of this chasing treadmill in a circle. So stepping back and let them breathe and observe. And then I start to show them, okay, so what is your challenge? So let's talk about it. Let's address it. And then I'm bringing special tools that they can apply step by step. It's not only the briefing, but really the things as focusing on one thing, taking breaks, looking even, okay, what gives me energy, what takes energy, not only physically, but also mentally, because people have a tendency to overthink, think negatively, that takes energy away. And that happens when people are very stressed and overworked. So I'm helping them to, okay, take a step back and rest.
Yeah, absolutely. You do strike me as somebody who brings so much authenticity and empathy to your work. You know what I mean? Like you are stopping to understand, and like you said, you need to get the insights of that particular person before you can, maybe diagnose or give some sort of advice. Now, how do you maintain your own well-being while you're actually carrying everybody else's emotional weight?
Well, first of all, because what I teach, I also practice. So it's not only to give, but also to maintain with me. Well, I definitely do something that is, I think, challenging for people. I meditate. So that is amazing thing. Like next week, I'm going for silent retreat. So in that sense, that is definitely is taking care of my own well-being. But I think few things, because well-being can be divided. So it can be mental. With mental part, for instance, I'm looking for things that gives me more positivity. Reading a good book, journaling, saying why I'm grateful for. Physically, I go for flamenco, I go for yoga, I go for improv classes. So I'm also socializing. So I'm very aware of my well-being buckets where some things will give me energy. So I'm navigating that.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. Yeah, because what do they say? You can't give off of an empty cup. And, when you're flying, the air hostess always says, put your mask on first so that you be able to help those, that are not able to help themselves. Now, Ania, I mean, obviously, there's quite a lot that we can discern here and
all the time. Yeah, cover.
Figure out.
But you know what, Prosper, to also conclude, I think when we think about resilience, mindfulness, or communication, it's also actually the strategic planning. It's not a fluffy thing that you say, oh, I will do that, or I will meditate, or I will run, or I will start to the colleague. It's really to plan that strategically. So when you do also your business, you also need to plan it strategically, short term and long term. That works the same with resilience.
Absolutely.
And being mindful, or productivity, or even, as you said, happiness. We also can work on this in a strategic way.
Absolutely. Now, if somebody is watching this and is keen to learn about well-being, resilience, and also communication, where can they go to on the internet, Ania, so they can connect with you?
Well, I guess you will share that, but one of the things, of course, you can visit my website, AnnPower.com. You can connect with me, of course, through LinkedIn, email. I'm also on Facebook. So, of course, just ping me, reach out if you feel for it, and start the conversation, right? You can also read the what others said about me working with me. I think that's the great testimonial when the need comes. I think when the need comes, that's what is very important. If you see there is a need for organization, for the team, for managers, or for local communities, then connect. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, when we started, you told us about the 4 countries that you've lived in and, all the experiences that you went through and, all the lessons that you have gotten through. And now you're sending down the elevator with all the goodies of, all the stuff that you've learned for the people that are on their way up to, at least, partake in. Now that we're in your world, what else can we expect that you're probably working on in the future, or what's next for you?
The next thing that I'm actually working on is really good topic. It's like how to build resilience through the changes. And it can be change like work-wise, family-wise, emotionally wise. So that's the thing, because change is happening constantly. And that's very difficult for many organizations and people including. It's for people. So I think how to build your resilience through change. Definitely something that is for me ongoing is mindfulness-based stress reduction. 2-month course of learning how to practice mindfulness. And the topic that now it's going more and more, it's the inclusive leadership. So how to be more inclusive wherever you work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I hope we'll be in touch with you to get all these topics unfolding, and maybe we can have you back on the podcast in order for us to keep learning from yourself there, Ania. This has been an incredible episode, and what an incredible journey. I mean, you just taken us through there, from helping people choose courage over comfort to literally bringing compassion into leadership, and also the work that you do transforming workplaces from the inside out. Because if people are now emotionally regulated and also have the well-being and the soft skills that you are imparting on them, I viscerally believe companies and the world will be a better place. So yeah, keep doing your amazing work there, Ania.
Prosper. So cross the fingers. Let me plant the seeds more and more. Yeah. So to make this planet a better place. Thank you for having me. And I hope with maybe a bit of my story, it will help others. So that would be great to hear. And if any follow-up will come up, let's see where the journey goes.
Absolutely. And for those that are watching right now, if you've ever felt that your potential wasn't fully used or you were meant for more joy, creativity, and meaning, I just really hope that this conversation just reminded you that, you know what, the path forward just begins with one brave step, so whenever you feel those shoes no longer fitting, just like Ania did, you are not forced to a sentence of a life in shoes that don't fit, because you won't be able to dance or glide or, like what Ania said, run a marathon. So I'm going to be putting all her links in the bottom there. So make sure you check out the links to learn more about AnnPower, which is Ania's training programs, and how mindfulness, communication, and well-being can actually transform your organization or your life. I can't wait to see what you're going to do with this information that we just brought to you today. Until next time. Bye for now.
Thank you, Prosper. See you. Bye.